Leave! You're not welcome here. An enormous snake on top of the bed. The snake hid underneath the bed.
Rod, do you really think Nahuales exist?
I believe there are a lot of powerful warlocks around the world, and that some of them may have the ability to transform into Nahuales. We might not know about them or see them. We don't know if it's a lot or very, very, very little. But I do believe this power exists in the world.
I also think they exist, and I think they are in other places than not just Latin America. I think Nahuales are all over the world, but not everyone is willing to share this story because sometimes it can go against their own beliefs.
Let me tell you the story about a Mormon. Do you know about Mormons?
Those guys that wear shirt and a black tie and go knocking on doors asking to speak about the Lord of Jesus, right?
Yes, those that are always well dressed, speaking to others about the Lord's word. Well, these congregations went in missions to other countries trying to talk about the Lord's word. They had an opening in the Haiti mission, and this guy said he wanted to go. They warned him that they had an opening because the guy before him had disappeared. They didn't know what happened to him. They told the police and the police investigated, but after a while, they just assumed that he was dead. You know how it is in these countries. If there's no evidence, no body, nothing, and he just disappeared, they just assume the worst. After this warning, he still decided he wanted to go. So, he arrived there, and they warned him. More than a warning, they recommended him to avoid visiting certain places because the Mormons were badly welcomed there. Since Haiti is a place where a lot of people believe in witchcraft, black magic, and this type of stuff, it is harder for them to predict the Lord's word, but they're still committed to communicating it to the world. So they told him this. But he didn't really care and decided to visit one of these places. When he arrived, people stared at him. They looked at him meanly. He didn't really care and started going, knocking door after door. Nobody opened. They peeked through the window, saw him, and then ignored him. He kept doing this for hours until suddenly somebody answered. A man shouted to him,
Leave! You're not welcome here.
Finally, somebody had answered. He thought, this is my moment, and kept knocking. Please, sir, come out. I just want to talk with you. Please. The man opened the door. It was an old man with a cane. He told him again.
Go away. Stop harassing. Nobody wants you here.
The Mormon thought this was his chance. He was the first one that had opened the door, and he was not going to surrender. So he kept being persistent. Let me tell you about the word of Jesus Christ. Let me talk to you about him.
I told you, go away.
The old man tried to hit him with his cane, but he stepped away. And then the man fell into the ground. The whole street turned to see what had happened, and they saw the old man laying on the floor. Suddenly, he had a crowd surrounding him, telling him things, telling him, Leave, what are you doing here? Nobody likes you here. And they started pulling and pushing him. He thought, nothing good is going to happen here. He was scared. Luckily, a man started to calm down the crowd. Please, calm down. Let him go. Come on. The crowd started to calm down, and this guy told him, Leave now. He didn't think it twice, and he ran away from that situation. He understood why they told him not to go there, and he was feeling like an idiot. Thinking, why did I go there? Why did I do this to myself? He arrived at the house where the Mormons were staying and went into his room, took a shower, got ready to go to bed. He was still frustrated, but when he was ready to go to bed, he did his best to calm down, lay on his bed, and started going to sleep. Out of nowhere, he started to smell something disgusting, horrible. He didn't know what it was, but it made him stand up, turn on the lights, and look for the source of the smell. Underneath his bed,
there were fresh human feces.
He didn't notice the smell when he got in his room?
There was no smell when he walked in his room. It started to smell when he was already laying on the bed. But well, he had to go to bed, so he went for some cleaning supplies and cleaned it up. After that, he went to bed. When he was sleeping, he had a horrible nightmare. He dreamed
about the old man, but he was laying on the floor with his tongue out. And his tongue was not a human tongue. It was a beefy tongue, like a snake. The man didn't walk or didn't crawl. He moved like a snake on the ground. He got very scared, but what woke him up was that once the old man was close enough to him, he struck and beat him.
He woke up screaming, grabbing his arm. His colleagues came running to see what was going on. When they turned on the light, they saw
An enormous snake on top of the bed. The snake hid underneath the bed.
they took this Mormon out of his room and gave him first aid. It seemed he had been bitten in the arm by this snake. After that, they went back inside the room and started looking for the snake. They turned the room upside down, but couldn't find the snake. They took him to the hospital. It turns out the snake was very venomous, and he was in the hospital for days. They even intubated him. Once he was out of the hospital, when he was leaving, he saw the man who helped him get away from the crowd. He came close and told him, "Hey, thank you for what you did the other day," and told him the story about the snake and why he had been in the hospital. The man that helped him told him, "You have to get out of this island. The old man that is after you is a Bokor, a very powerful wizard here in Haiti. You have to leave. He's after you. And the Bokors don't stop until they see the people they want to harm dead." He understood and was ready to leave, but he had to ask this man a question. A question he was even ashamed to ask. He told him, "Thank you very much, but why are you helping me?" The man looked at him and smiled. "You know, here in Haiti, we are rare, but I'm also a believer in God, and I'm helping you out of brotherhood. So please, leave the island for your own safety." Grateful for the advice, he left immediately. He went back to the United States looking for safety. There, he went back with the Mormons, but he realized this was not a thing that was attached to a physical place.
What do you mean this wasn't attached to a physical place?
Well, the attack was spiritual, and spirituality is not attached to physical locations like you or I am, like our bodies are. If you imagine your soul, you could say it's attached to your body, but if someone's attacked you spiritually, they don't need to be near you or close to you for it to have an effect. So some things that happened to him was that his room got full with flies, only his room. So many flies, the sunlight struggled to come in through the window.
That's nasty.
Nobody wanted to get near him. He was like a repellent for people. He noticed this and thought the only way he could beat this was working spiritually. So he prayed more. He talked to people about the Lord's word, even though each time he did it with less and less strength. It came to a point where he couldn't continue with this. So, against his religion, he went looking for a warlock that was at the same level. He told his story to the warlock, and the warlock told him some rituals they could do to fight it. And they did these rituals. Today, he keeps fighting against the curses this Bokor sends him. But even though he's a Mormon, he finds comfort with the warlock as well as with his God that he prays. He doesn't leave him alone. Fed, after all these stories about Nahuales, do you believe in them?
I certainly do. And I think these people that are connected to a certain type of source that can manipulate reality into transforming it into what they want are really powerful. And I think everyone should watch out for them. What do you think about them, Rod?
I think they have very specific interests, and with time, these interests stop being them, and more of the form they take, like instincts that are developed with magic. I think they don't pose a threat to people, but I think if one is near you, it's very easily for them to pose a threat to you.
You know, there's a Mexican scientist that studied them, that wrote books about them, about good Nahuales, people that help others. He even came to work at a university in the US. If you would like us to talk about Jacobo Greenberg or another specific topic, let us know in the comments.
The next topic we're going to talk about is witchcraft. There, you will have one bonus story about Nahuales and witchcraft together. So be on the lookout for that. And thank you for your time. I hope you got entertained, but most importantly, scared.